Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 146. Dude, you're getting a BroBot. Recorded on May 14th, 2021 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All right, and as always, with our announcements and events, next week we are doing our Zoho Recruit Overview and Best Practices webinar. That's on May 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific. And as always, if you head on over to CRM Zen and you click on events, you can see all of the upcoming events that are going to be happening in the month of May and beyond. We collect everything we possibly can from Zoho and other partners and do our best to kind of make that happen. So,
and there are a ton of Zoho events coming up throughout this month. A bunch of webinars they're doing on projects, analytics. Looks like they've got some on the CRM as well. So good month to maybe attend a couple of those webinars if you're using any of those apps.
Yeah, for sure. They're really ramping.
Spinning back up. The machine, right, is coming back to life here a little bit.
They are. Yeah, and I'm seeing a few partners. I got one in from Oscillosoft that we're going to be posting. I got an email from them. So we're starting to see webinar season pick up. We don't know what webinar season is, though. We just keep rolling all day long.
Just do it year round.
Year round. All right. Zoho news. Hey, the Zoho calendar has finally been released. I do like it a lot. It's a drastic improvement. We kind of talked about this last week, but the official announcement, I guess, came out this week. I've been playing with it quite a bit. I mean, it's great. It's ready for prime time, with the big exception that it's just lacking pretty much any integrations with any of the major meeting software, and any integrations with any of the kind of events booking softwares that are out there. So if you're using Zoho Bookings and you're using Zoho Meeting, you're okay. But otherwise you're not. But other than that, they've done a really, really nice job cleaning this up, I think.
And it's kind of just one step, I think, in their plan over the next little while here to just integrate more and more internal Zoho apps into the calendar. I know it's kind of always been an outstanding request. You know, if you're using CRM and you're using projects and you're using Desk, well, you have all these different dates, right, across these systems. And I know part of their long-term plan is to consolidate a lot of that. So it's a good first step towards that goal.
For sure. All right. And then moving along, Zoho Projects has some timesheet enhancements. The big one here is that users can now log time for tasks or issues that are not owned by them.
Which is a big one.
Big.
Yeah, one of our clients actually has all of their tasks basically get assigned to almost everybody, because the way that they work is a lot of their team can kind of pick up any task that's in any of their relative projects, and they just need to be able to bill time against it. So that's a nice quality of life update. So you can actually just have your one owner, the person who's directly responsible for it, but then other people that are working on that task can bill time against it.
Yeah, nice enhancement as well. And then also over in Zoho Projects, they now support Arabic. So Arabic language support. They continue to add languages to projects. I would think, anytime you're doing something that's, 2-bit characters, it's quite a different process, right? And so I imagine this was not a simple thing to add this, but this is the same as basically when you're trying to do kanji and some of those other languages. So anyway, they have now, Zoho Projects is now supported in Arabic. And if you haven't followed over the show for a while, there's been a massive, they've opened an office in Dubai, and they're really doing a nice expansion into the Middle East. So this kind of makes sense. All right. And with that, let's take a look at the Zoho people released their May newsletter. We always try to point this one out because it's packed full of good stuff, Tyler.
Yep. And just like the machine keeps churning, they're just doing this month over month. You get kind of the full list of all the different updates that went out, a couple upcoming webinars that they'll sometimes link to through this newsletter as well. So if you are a user of Zoho People, it's a good thing to check every once a month just to make sure you're up to date on all the news and updates to the product.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, they've got a webinar coming up, How to Get Performance Management Right, What the Research Tells Us, with Nick Hawley. I don't know if that's in CRM Zen, but if not, we'll get that added in there. So really good stuff. This is the best newsletter that Zoho puts out, I think.
I think so too.
Packed and informative and some really good stuff there. All right, and that takes us to more Zoho news. So we've got a Zoho Workplace April recap. I kind of went through this. The one I missed here, so this is everything that happens in Zoho Workplace, which is their office suite. Hit that snooze. We don't want to get crowded by less important emails. And at the same time, we don't want to risk missing anything. Here's the solutions. Snooze such emails and read them at a later time. I think I missed that release. But other than that, is there anything on here that jumped out at you?
No, I think that's the main one here. Yeah, just kind of a quick roundup of their updates. I didn't see the snooze. That reminds me of that plugin that we were playing with a little last week, Jamalius, because that was part of their tool, was that you could snooze emails that you don't want to respond to right now. It's a nice little bit of functionality there for Zoho Mail.
Yeah, and then I guess a small one that I did miss that came under the radar. This seems more of a bug fix, but you can now add your signature to your out-of-office messages, which is probably pretty important there. That's over in Zoho Mail. So nice little roundup of what happened there last month. And then SalesIQ, the new version was released last week. We talked about that. And I'm not sure if these are new features. I think these are just all part of the new version, and they're kind of highlighting these features that came out last week. So the first one we want to talk about is articles, and articles is pretty cool. It basically is your knowledge base in Zoho Desk or Zendesk, real-time synced, being put into SalesIQ if you want to make it available there, or just building your own article library. But this is slick. So you're in SalesIQ, you ask a question, you're going to, go ahead and query that knowledge base directly.
Yeah, and this kind of builds into some of their other updates that we're going to talk about. Of course, good to have a knowledge base for your own team who's answering tickets. But one of the cool other things that they've added with the new SalesIQ update is actually the little answer bot. I think they've got a separate article here posted on that. Yep, here it is. And so, with the answer bot, the cool thing here is different than the Zobot. So a Zobot, you're going to kind of build out a conversational flow, whereas the answer bot is powered by natural language processing. Basically seems like something you turn on, set a couple little rules around it, and then it is just going. But the cool thing is the answer bot can actually read someone's question and correlate the types of questions and the terms we're using to a proper article, and then serve it back up to that person for you. So nice little way that if you do build out that bank of articles, that this bot can actually take care of some of those, quick and common requests that you might be getting on a daily basis.
Yeah, and then that also ties into the last little feature that they're highlighting, which is called Small Talk, which plugs into your answer bots, one or more answer bots, and kind of goes with it's basically multiple responses to phrases, right? Mm-hmm. So if you said, "How's it going?" I could say, "Dude," or the next time I'd say, "Bro." I don't know, what would the Zoho version of that be? Zro. So anyway, it's a Zro bot. Anyway, there you go. It's just basically giving you nice dynamic text. You basically can just put a bunch of different natural phrases in so that a person's not always getting the same phrase back at them every single time. And you can build your packages too, which is cool. You can have a casual, a professional, and an elite, whatever you want to do. So I don't know how it tells what talking to. So maybe if the person types in, "Hey dude, what's up?" then you need to go into the casual package. Do that. I don't know. Anyway. You got nothing? I'm just rambling on here. Just let me hang out here, Tyler.
Yeah.
Just let me ramble on. All right. And then that takes us to the April marketplace roundup of all the new releases that we had in the marketplace. Some good ones here. We covered one of these kind of in a big way last week. Which one was that?
It was the Buy brand. It might be up there at the top.
Buy brand, which was really good. Yeah. Buy brand for Zoho CRM. Good stuff. And so I don't know if I kind of look through a lot of these again, they put them in as if they're new, but sometimes they're just updates. I don't know. ShipStation's kind of interesting in CRM. We usually only see that over in inventory, but who knows? See what that looks like. Have you looked at any of these since we came?
A nice little one is WooCommerce for Zoho Desk. It's just kind of a direct plugin there. Of course, you could always put a Zoho form on your site and have people, routing those tickets through that way. But if you do want to kind of pull in order information and kind of contextualize a ticket, That's a pretty slick little integration that actually pops up inside of Zoho Desk. So nice one to see there if you are a WooCommerce user.
Yeah, and someone is doing a bunch of CRM for applications. So we have one CRM for a realtor and CRM for a freight forwarder. So there's some specific things using Zoho Creator to accomplish various things. So anyway, worth taking a look at the overall marketplace. It's getting better and better. Do be careful over there. Some of the apps are a little rough, but there are a lot of gems that you can uncover if you kind of spend some time looking around properly. And still more Zoho news. We have the Finance Suite Roundup. So Zoho Books, to me, there's just very, very few things here. I'll let you cover some of this, but the big one here for me in Zoho Books is you now have premium retail templates that can be printed on thermal printers. A thermal printer is kind of what you see whenever you get a receipt from someone, that comes out for signature at a restaurant or a gas station or whatever. So you can now format your basically receipts straight out of books, which I don't know. This is going to be big, I think. A lot of people need this. This is, there's rumors, Tyler, of a Zoho POS
point of sale. Yeah,
they
floated around for a long time. It's funny because those, I have to say, don't hold your breath. Those, I remember when I was before Zenatta, and I was working with the electric bike company that I worked for before. We were opening a retail location, and I found forum posts about the potential for a Zoho POS even all the way back then. So maybe it's finally making the rounds. It would make sense, right? Because I think a lot of people, I don't know if any of our clients who are using Zoho Books for like retail order processing, like in-person print you a receipt.
Yes,
so it almost seems like maybe
we do have a couple. We have a health and wellness spa that does that, and they're always printing out regular old invoices right now. And so it's actually they just went to with Square and went with a full-on retail terminal to print the receipts, and they're just going to do manual reconciliation because they can't wait. But this is slick. I mean, it'll be curious to see how you can actually tie this in, because most of the time you're gonna need to tie this to some sort of a point of sale system. For those of you that don't know, you see them in restaurants, right? They just tap a button for the meal, you tap a button for the product and service. It's got big pictures on there, and normally people insert their credit card, all those kind of things. They handle all of that, but this looks like we're on the way.
And a couple other little minor updates that they snuck in with this. You get a little bit more control over syncing from marketplace integrations. So you can go ahead and set a start and end time for the sync if you do want to, have it be just over a controlled period. Improving a little bit on the after ship integration. So they're kind of shoring that up, making it more real time. And then one last one that kind of stood out to me is that last at the very bottom there, the bill third party as a payment method. Basically, they made a little payment method specifically for drop shipping. So if you're drop shipping items, you can say that I'm going to pay for the shipping, or whoever I'm going to forward this order to is going to pay for the shipping just based on your relationship with that vendor. So nice little feature, because we've actually found a decent number of people that do use Zoho Books or Zoho Inventory for drop shipping specifically. And they've got some functionality for it actually already built before this. And this is kind of one more little addition for that.
Yeah, moving along here, Zoho Expense got a whole new makeover. Pretty nice. Got a beautiful new interface, and they've done a lot of things that really needed. I've had some large companies that we haven't been able to roll this out for because you can't break in specific buckets. So it might be you want to have a travel bucket, but the travel bucket is for this department, then another travel bucket with a whole different number is for another department. That's all happened now. You've got different groups and you've got different categories. It's a broad control. It's slick. I mean, this is just a long time in the making for this. I mean, the application wasn't horrible to begin with, but this is a really nice rework.
It definitely is, as you'd expect, to sneaking in a little bit more of the Zia functionality into this. I think that'll be a common theme of the rest of this year. I think it's going to be working its way more and more into these various tools.
Yeah, this is good. So, we have rolled this out on so few occasions, but the new tie-ins and the new things, they've really this could be the version that kind of fixes all of that, which is I think a pretty good thing. All right, and then moving on, this is really really kind of cool. But now Canva is integrating. If you're not familiar with Canva, Canva is integrating into Zoho Social. So Zoho Social is Zoho's social media management platform, similar to Hootsuite or any of those. Allows you to kind of post, do all your posts, schedule your post, reply to posts, comment on posts. Everything can be handled inside of Zoho Social. Well, if you're building out a post in Zoho Social, oftentimes you're going to want to have a nice image or a little, card or something and that you're going to want to put there. If you're doing something, and now that you've got Instagram, you want to format specifically for phones and you want to do all these kind of things. Well, Canva is an application that allows you to build those on the fly. We've used it and it's really slick. It's got a lot of really, really nice functionality. Well, now it's right in there. So you basically can just, without leaving Zoho Social, pull up Canva, do the design, do everything you want, and then go ahead and post it. I love this integration.
Yeah, it's really slick. I mean, Canva, I think, most people probably heard of it, played with it, tried it out. It's one of the bigger kind of quick graphic makers. So a good grab for Zoho Social to be able to build that integration and make it so seamless.
Yeah. And just format for format. I mean, you can do anything in here. I think pretty sure that our LinkedIn banner was designed in Canva. Not that it doesn't need to be redesigned after all this time, but it does everything. So your Facebook covers, stories for Facebook, Instagram stories, Instagram posts, you can do infographics. There's nothing you can't just drag and drop and build in this application. So good on Zoho, man. Pretty cool stuff. All right. And that brings us to our crazy implementation of the week.
Yeah, so this was an interesting one. Kind of just put it in here as a fun use case for a serverless function. And just to highlight that really with Zoho Deluge, there's very little that you can't do. So this was an implementation to calculate the nth weekday of a given month using Zoho Deluge. And so what I mean by that when I say an nth weekday would be like the third Sunday or the fourth Friday of a particular month. And, with calendars, some are 28 days, some are 29, some are 30, 31, right? So you can't always just use normal, add this many days or subtract this many days logic to reliably get these types of dates. So what we ended up doing, we set up a serverless function in the CRM, which we're using more and more of those lately. Basically what a serverless function is a Deluge function that's not part of a particular workflow. It's basically lives on its own, and you can call it in other functions to run a calculation or run some type of logic. And so what we did is we went ahead and made a serverless function in the CRM that takes 3 different inputs. It wants to look for a weekday, so you could send in like Sunday. It wants to look for a number, so you could send in like 4, so that would be our 4th Sunday. And then you can send in the specific month. If you don't send the month, it'll just assume that you're working on the current month. Then what it does, so once we tell it we're looking for the 4th Sunday of this month, it goes ahead and runs a massive if statement. If else's for many, many, many rows to kind of iterate through and, read what it's looking for, figure out what that date actually is. And then return it in the date format that you'd like it in. For us, we kept it in the standard format, and we'll kind of change it however we need it once we have it back. But the interesting thing about this is that because it's a serverless function, you could actually use it in a variety of different applications. So in this case, the primary usage was, on a specific day of the month, we want to go ahead and post a mail merged file into a click chat that brings in the 4th Sunday and the Friday before the 4th Sunday onto that particular mail merge document. So basically runs this, it figures out what those dates are, and then mail merges them, downloads the document, and posts it out through Click. Other ways that you could do this would be if you had like a recurring, let's say a recurring webinar, recurring announcement that, maybe every 4th Friday you do some kind of event. And you want to set up like a scheduled emailer that notifies everyone, maybe a week before that. You could do that same exact thing here and populate that into like an email template and send it out that way. So it's kind of interesting little use case, but every now and then you have these things that don't happen on the 30th. They happen on a fourth Sunday. And this is just a way that you can plug it in and get that particular date just based on whichever parameters you send in.
Yeah, I think we do our webinars on, what is it, the third Tuesday of every month? Is that the thing? So you basically could just have something that automatically did that and put it out and updated it and pulled the name. And yeah, it's cool. I mean, for them, they're doing a lot of this. And, you were talking about this particular client really wants to calculate, how much time does it take me to manually do this? And then is it worth automating it to do it? And this is one of those, it's pretty unique. All right, that brings us to this week's read. And I like this. The key to keeping your CRM in sync. This is from CRM Magazine, and it is by Phillip, Britt. The thing that really jumped out on me here is make your CRM system the single source of truth. And I think that is key to so much. If it's where you find everything, even if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist, is something you hear all the time. But basically he's kind of stumbling it down to, you got to get everybody on board. Everybody's got to agree that this is the single source of truth, that everything will go in here. We will break down the silos because marketing is going to use it and sales is going to use it and everybody's going to use it. We've said this over and over again, but I just thought this was a particularly well-written article that had some pretty nice points that needed to be made in it.
Yeah, and it kind of almost ties into, what we were talking about with LSP just a couple days back, where context is so important. And so by having everything pulling into the CRM and having it be that primary hub, when you're looking at a contact, you could see the marketing activities, the customer service activities, any deals that they were a part of, any invoices they've been sent, right? So if you can successfully pull everything together, then you get that full context anytime that you're going to talk to someone or engage with them on a new opportunity.
Yeah. And so anyway, nice article. If you haven't checked out, so CRM Magazine, their website is Destination CRM, and they've just got some great stuff over here. I mean, since we're all living in this world, a lot of these articles are, I think they're common sense, but I think, we at least find, I don't know, once a month we find a nugget over here. So worth checking this out if you get a chance. All right, and that is going to take us to overzenatta.com. As Tyler alluded to earlier this week, we actually did a webinar on enterprise customer experience with Zoho and LSP, who is the senior evangelist over at Zoho. And we actually have an article on Zenatta.com where if you don't want to listen to the 1+ hours, well, you can get a pretty nice summary of what he talked about. We talked about a little bit of our Q&A, all those kind of things. So, and there was a lot. It was a really good conversation, I thought. So yeah, I really want to thank Zoho. They've been reaching out lately and just hooking us up with some great people. And then also we've got an article on Begin versus PipeDrive. I don't know if it should be a versus thing here, but this is kind of a contrast and compare between Zoho Begin and PipeDrive. But if you're not familiar, anything that basically uses Kanban views to kind of go along, that's PipeDrive's model. That's Trello's model, all those kind of things. And Begin is that kind of a thing, less of a task management app like a Trello, more, PipeDrive is actually a CRM, allows you to have multiple different pipelines. Begin does the same thing, and Begin is Zoho's very, very streamlined CRM that's getting, I don't know, more and more CRM functionality as it goes along, it seems like. We haven't talked about Begin much lately, but anyway, it seems like every day that was all we were talking about. And then we found another guide out there, Tyler. This is right up your alley. How do I create a profit and loss statement report in Zoho Analytics?
Yeah, and I actually found this one, kind of stumbled on it a couple weeks back. And so we went ahead and added these both to the site. This is basically a step-by-step walkthrough if you want to create a P&L over in Zoho Analytics from your books data. Oftentimes if you do need that P&L, it does also live inside of Zoho Books. But if based on how you want to report on things, maybe it's slightly different. Maybe the way that Zoho Books is presenting it just isn't quite right for how you want to report on it. It does give you the way to kind of customize things. And one thing that I will note with this little guide is it actually gives you the full SQL query that you need to output like the base table. So if you do know just a little bit of SQL, you can take that code and make any tweaks to it that you want. And then you'll have this up and running relatively quickly and easily.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. We keep finding those, and I'm happy that we do. And that brings us to our application of the week. This solved more problems than I knew I had. So this is called Google Calendar Plus, and it is a Chrome extension that really just kind of helps you with your Google Calendar. So, I find that I'm usually in the week view. And, I have to look at from midnight till, 7 in the morning, which is, there's nothing going on from midnight. So my workouts, but I don't need those on there. And this allows you to change your work hours. It allows you to fit more events onto a page. It allows you to do some coloring of events. It allows, if you got a bunch of all day events, it will alphabetize them. It fits more in. It shows you things on hover that you could never see before. It just goes on and on and on. Cool little extension. If you're using Google Calendar, we know a lot of the audience, you guys are, a lot of people are in G Suite, a lot of people are in Office 365. They're not on the Zoho Office Suite. So when we find these kind of things, they're worth looking at. And I like this one a lot. So pretty cool.
It seems just like a, sprinkling of quality of life updates, basically all across Google Calendar. It's nothing transformative, but it does just do a lot of things pretty darn well to make the calendar a little more useful.
Yeah, it does. And it gives you these, super nice little things you can pick on. A nice pick list. You can authenticate with one of your calendars. And if you are watching, there's a little video we've playing that's going on here. It just makes the calendar super useful. So go ahead and check that out. And that brings us to our tip of the week, which we recorded, what did we do? 5 of these last week?
I think so.
Yes. So Zoho WorkDrive Beginner's Guides. And this one was setting up users and groups.
It's kind of a quick little walkthrough. It's kind of the first thing that you'll want to do when you do go ahead and spin up WorkDrive. Just a quick video. I think it's about 5 minutes there. So a lot of these WorkDrive ones are going to be pretty quick. It's not an application that takes a lot to spin up, but there's a couple little things under the hood, like the group management, that will just make your life a little easier. So definitely one to check out if you're thinking about using WorkDrive.
Yeah, and if you haven't gone over to our YouTube channel, we've broken everything down. If you click on the homepage, everything's going to be broken into our various playlists. So we start with CRM Zen Show, and then we've got our webinars, and then we have the Beginner's Guide. So you'll find if you scroll down, there'll be the WorkDrive Beginner's Guide. We're probably going to have to figure out how to organize these because it's going to overrun the page. Also, while you're over here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and go ahead and subscribe to us over here. But anyway, everything is over here. And you can also, if you want to just know the newest videos, just look at the videos tab. And if you hit the subscribe, do the bell, you'll get that. And then this is going to kind of give you every single video that we're doing. And we do a lot. It looks like we're doing, in the last week, 4 videos, something like that.
Yeah,
5 videos. About. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. So anyway, hopefully you like the content we're putting up there. We are doing our best. All right. And then that really wraps. Do we have any Q&A, Tyler? Looks like we do. We've got one question from Scott. Regarding Zoho Books, I have found that it is very limited on the accounts that you post to when in a particular transaction type. For example, if you have a vendor that bills you for items, but also includes an income item, which still nets the total bill as an expense. However, Books does not let you post an income account, only expenses. You'd have to, Tyler, I'm pretty sure you'd have to break that up.
Yeah, you'd have to break, if the vendor's going to give you anything that should be an income item, you'd have to spin it off into an invoice. So basically
you're saying it's a credit. All right. So you invoiced them, they invoiced you for $1,000, but they owed you $500 and they're showing a $500 credit line. And now it's $500. So you're not able to do the credit for that. Yeah. You basically would have to completely break that into 2 separate line items. There is no workaround that I know of. I guess that is the workaround, right?
Yeah. Maybe
break it into an invoice and a bill.
Maybe you could do it with a piece of Deluge code. If you created a bill and it had a certain item, like if you told the code these 5 items, if they show up on a bill, they need to be removed from the bill and add it as an invoice that's marked as paid or something like that. I mean, it would almost need to be just a little piece of Deluge code that would drop in there to resolve that. Because unfortunately, I think like you've kind of found, there's not a default workaround for that particular use case.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea though. We've been doing a lot with that lately.
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, it's a good thing about any of these tools that Zoho does have is if there isn't a default way to do it, you can likely get there with a piece of code. It just takes a little bit of massaging sometimes to figure it all out.
Yeah, and while Zoho Books may occasionally have its limitations, I personally think the benefits far outweigh the limitations if you're living in the Zoho world. I mean, the things we can do with Zoho Books, invoices that can be created, bills, subscriptions, automatically updating records and moving things along. There's a lot there. And yes, I know. And QuickBooks, as you say, so Scott's coming back. QuickBooks don't have limitations like that. That is true. And, if you ever go to our Zenatta.com homepage and you click on all of our resource guides, one of the things about books is that while it's very, very powerful and it's got a lot of things, it's not QuickBooks. That's all QuickBooks does. And there's just a lot of features inside QuickBooks that still aren't inside Zoho Books, and it can cause some pain. But there usually are workarounds that, we can make happen. So, all right. And with that, we will wrap up the show. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening this week. If you have any questions or comments, you can hit us up over at info@crmzen.com or info@zenatta.com.
And on the websites is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platforms and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.